The rain in Seoul didn't just fall. It felt like it was trying to drown the city. It hammered against the roof of the black luxury sedan, drowning out the sound of the engine. Ji-hyun gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. He wasn't a driver. He was the man who made kings, the man who cleaned up messes that would ruin careers. But tonight, he was driving Mina, the woman he was supposed to marry in 3 months. "Are you even listening to me, Ji-hyun?" Mina asked. She was looking at her phone, the light from the screen making her face look pale and ghostly. "My father is freaking out about the polling numbers in the Southern District. He says you promised to handle the union leaders." "I handled them," Ji-hyun said. His voice was calm, low, and cold. It was the voice he used when he was lying, and it was the voice he used when he was telling the truth. It didn't matter. "They won't be a problem." "Good," Mina sighed, leaning back against the expensive leather seat. "Because if Daddy loses this election, we lose everything. The development deal, the land rights, our future." Ji-hyun didn't answer. He looked out into the wet, dark street. They were taking a shortcut through a neighborhood that people like Mina pretended didn't exist. The streetlights flickered, buzzing like angry flies. Trash bags were piled up on the curb, soaked and ripping open. He hated this part of town. It smelled like old desperation. But it was the fastest way to the campaign headquarters, and Mina's father, Councilman Park, hated waiting. The traffic light ahead turned red. Ji-hyun slowed the car to a stop. The wipers slapped back and forth, slicing through the water on the glass. Swish, swish, he looked to his right. An alleyway mouth gaped open between a closed convenience store and a rundown karaoke bar. A shadow moved. Ji-hyun narrowed his eyes. He was trained to see things others missed. He saw threats before they happened. He saw secrets in the way a man held his drink. A woman stepped out of the shadows. She was wearing a gray hoodie that was too big for her, pulled low over her face. She looked soaked to the bone. She wasn't walking. She was scurrying, like a frightened animal trying to cross open ground without being seen by a predator. She stepped off the curb, right into the crosswalk, even though the hand signal was flashing, "Don't walk." The headlights of the sedan washed over her. For a split second, she looked up, blinded by the light. Ji-hyun's heart stopped. It didn't just skip a beat, it slammed into a wall and died. The dark skin, the high cheekbones. The eyes that used to look at him like he was the only man in the world, now wide with terror. Aisha, it wasn't possible. She was gone. 2 years ago, the immigration vans had come. He had stood in his office, watching from the window as they took her away. He had done nothing. He had let it happen because she was a liability. She was a waitress with no papers, and he was a rising star in the political underworld. He couldn't have a weakness, so he let them deport her. He let them send her back to a country she had run away from. But there she was, standing in the rain 5 feet from his front bumper, and she wasn't alone. Clutched tight against her chest, wrapped inside her soaked coat, was a bundle, a baby. A small, tiny thing with a knit cap tucked against her neck to hide it from the cold. Aisha froze. She saw the car. She didn't see him behind the tinted glass, but she saw the expensive vehicle, the symbol of the power that had crushed her. "Ji-hyun, the light is green," Mina said, looking up from her phone. "Go, why are we stopping?" Ji-hyun couldn't breathe. The air in the car felt like it had been sucked out. Aisha took a step back, slipping on the wet asphalt. She clutched the baby tighter, her hand protective over the small head. If he drove forward, she would run. If he drove forward, he kept his life. He kept the deal with the mayor. He kept the money, the power, the future, if he stopped. "Ji-hyun," Mina snapped, her voice sharp. "What is wrong with you? Drive the car." The baby moved in Aisha's arms. A tiny hand reached out from the blanket, grasping at the rein. Ji-hyun stared at the hand. He did the math in his head. 2 years. She had been gone 2 years. A cold sweat broke out on his neck. "Ji-hyun." "Before we find out if Ji-hyun destroys his entire life for a woman he betrayed, I need to ask you something important. Where are you watching this story from right now? Is it raining where you are, just like it is for Aisha? Drop your city in the comments. And while you're there, on a scale of 1 to 10, how messed up is it that Ji-hyun let her get deported in the first place? Be honest. Listen to me closely. Aisha is standing in the freezing rain with a baby that might belong to the man in the car. She has nowhere to go. If she gets caught, she loses the baby forever. If you don't hit that subscribe button for Timeless K-Love right now, you are leaving her on that street corner to fend for herself. Do not let her story end in the cold. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's save her together. "Damn it!" Ji-hyun cursed under his breath. He threw the car into park. The doors unlocked with a heavy thud. "What are you doing?" Mina demanded, her voice rising an octave. Ji-hyun, have you lost your mind? We are going to be late. Stay here, he ordered. His voice was rough like gravel. Lock the doors. You can't just leave me here. This is a bad neighborhood. Ji-hyun didn't listen. He pushed the door open and stepped out into the storm. The rain hit him instantly, soaking his expensive suit, plastering his hair to his forehead. The cold was a shock, but it woke him up. It made the world sharp and clear. Aisha had already turned. She was running now, limping slightly, heading back toward the dark alleyway she had come from. She knew better than to wait for a rich man in a black car. Nothing good ever came from men like that. Aisha, he shouted. The wind tore the name from his lips, but she heard him. She stiffened, but she didn't stop. She moved faster, slipping on the trash-strewn pavement. Ji-hyun ran. He didn't run like a businessman, he ran like a hunter. He vaulted over a pile of wet cardboard boxes and splashed through a puddle that went up to his ankles. She reached the mouth of the alley. It was dark, narrow, and smelled of rotting food. Aisha, stop! He caught up to her just as she tried to squeeze past a dumpster. He reached out and grabbed her arm. She screamed. It wasn't a loud scream. It was a terrified, choked sound, the sound of someone who expects to be hurt. She spun around, lashing out with her free hand. Her nails scratched against his cheek, stinging. Let me go, she cried, her accent thick, her voice trembling. Please, I have money, take it, just let us go. She thought he was a thug. She thought he was immigration, she didn't know. Ji-hyun grabbed her wrists, pinning them to her sides, careful not to squeeze the bundle on her chest. Aisha, look at me. She struggled, her eyes squeezed shut, tears mixing with the rain on her face. No, please, my baby. Please don't take my baby. Aisha. He shook her just once, hard enough to make her stop fighting. It's me, it's Ji-hyun. She went still. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The street lamp at the end of the alley cast a weak, yellow glow over them. She stared at his face. She looked at the scar on his eyebrow, the sharp jawline, the eyes that had once looked at her with heat and now looked at her with panic. Ji-hyun, she whispered. Her voice broke him. It sounded exactly the same, soft, lyrical. Then her expression changed. The fear didn't leave, but it was replaced by something else. Hate, pure, burning hate. She yanked her arm away from him. You, what are you doing here? He asked, his voice harsh. He looked around nervously. You were deported. You can't be here if the police see you. You think I want to be here, she spat. She stepped back, shielding the baby with her body. You think I came back for you. I don't care why you came back, he snapped. You are illegal, Aisha. If you get caught, they will put you in a holding cell and they will put that kid in the system. Do you understand? I understand better than you, she hissed. I understand that you watched them take me. You did nothing. I couldn't do anything. Liar, she stepped closer, her anger making her brave. You are the fixer, that is what they called you. You fix everything for the rich people, but for me, you fixed nothing. A honk from the street made them both jump. Ji-hyun looked back. The Maybach was still idling at the curb. Mina was probably calling her father right now. He turned back to Aisha. We can't do this here. Who is the baby? Aisha went silent. She looked down at the lump in her coat. She pulled the blanket up higher, hiding the child's face. It is none of your business, she said. Aisha, he warned. How old is the baby? She didn't answer. She started to back away, deeper into the alley. Go back to your car, Ji-hyun. Go back to your expensive life. Pretend you didn't see me. You are good at that. He stepped forward to stop her, but then he saw the baby's face. The baby had turned its head. The little knit cap had slipped back. The skin was light brown. The hair was thick and dark, but it was the eyes. Even in the shadows, he saw the shape. He saw his own mother's eyes staring back at him from the face of a 1-year-old child. The world tilted. Is it? His voice failed him. He tried again. Is he mine? Aisha stopped. She looked at him, and for a moment the anger in her face cracked, revealing a deep, exhausted sadness. You sent me away, she whispered. You sent me away to a place where I had no one. I was pregnant in a detention center, Ji-hyun. I gave birth on a floor with strangers watching. Ji-hyun felt like he had been punched in the gut. He staggered back a step. I didn't know, he said. I didn't know you were. Because you didn't ask, she cried out, keeping her voice low but intense. You just wanted me gone because I was bad for your image, bad for the campaign. Ji-hyun, Mina's voice cut through the rain. She had rolled down the window. Ji-hyun, who is that? What are you doing? Ji-hyun looked between the two women. In the car, there was Mina, safe, rich, the daughter of the next mayor, his ticket to owning this city. If he got back in that car, he kept his power. He kept his territory. He just had to walk away. Aisha would disappear. He could tell Mina it was just a beggar. He could lie. In the alley, there was Aisha, soaked, hunted, holding a son he never knew existed, a son who was born on a floor because Ji-hyun was too of a coward to save the mother. Go, Aisha said, her voice dead. Go to her, it is what you do. She turned and started to walk away, moving fast into the darkness. Wait, Ji-hyun shouted. Ji-hyun, if you don't get back in this car right now, I am calling my father, Mina screamed. I swear to God, I will ruin you. Ji-hyun looked at the car. He looked at the alley, he made a choice. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his keys. He didn't walk to the car, he ran after Aisha. Stop! He grabbed her arm again, gentler this time. Let me go. No, he said, breathing hard. You can't be on the street, not with him. I have nowhere else, she sobbed, finally breaking. My cousin, she was supposed to help, but she is gone. They took her too. I have nowhere, Ji-hyun. We have been sleeping in a subway station. Image of his son sleeping on a dirty tile floor made Ji-hyun want to kill someone, probably himself. You are coming with me, he said. What? She looked at him like he was crazy. In there with her. No, he said. He looked back at the Maybach. Mina was opening her door now, holding an umbrella, looking furious. Ji-hyun grabbed Aisha's hand. It was cold as ice. We aren't taking the car. Where are we going? My safe house, he said. It's 3 blocks away, we run. But, your fiancé. Aisha looked at the woman stepping out of the car. Forget her, Ji-hyun said. He pulled Aisha close, shielding her and the baby with his own body. Run. He turned his back on the $1 million car. He turned his back on the mayor's daughter. He turned his back on the life he had spent 10 years building. Ji-hyun, Mina shrieked. Ji-hyun, where are you going? Come back here, you work for me. You are nothing without my father, do you hear me? Nothing. Her voice faded into the sound of the rain as Ji-hyun dragged Aisha and their son into the shadows of the alley, running blindly into a night that had just become very, very dangerous. The safe house wasn't really a house. It was a basement apartment under a laundromat that Ji-hyun owned through 3 different shell companies. It had no windows. It had a steel door with 3 locks. It was stocked with canned food, cash, and weapons. He shoved the door open and ushered Aisha inside. He quickly punched the code into the alarm panel and threw the deadbolts. The silence in the room was sudden and heavy. The only sound was their breathing and the dripping of water from their clothes onto the concrete floor. Ji-hyun leaned back against the door, closing his eyes for a second. He had just blown up his life. Mina would call her father. Councilman Park would call the police. Then he would call the gangs he paid off. By morning, Ji-hyun would be a hunted man. He opened his eyes and looked at Aisha. She was standing in the middle of the room, shivering violently. She looked around the sparse, gray room with suspicion. The baby started to cry a thin, hungry wail. Here, Ji-hyun said. He moved into the room, peeling off his soaked suit jacket. Take this, it's dry. He tried to hand her the jacket, but she flinched away. I don't want your coat, she said, her teeth chattering. I want to know what happens now. You just left her. I did. She will call the police. Yes. They will come for us. They will come for me, Ji-hyun corrected. They don't know who you are. Mina didn't see your face clearly. She saw you run off with a woman and a baby, Aisha said. She rocked the crying infant, shushing him softly. You think she is stupid. She will figure it out, or her father will. Ji-hyun walked over to a small kitchenette in the corner. He grabbed a clean towel from a cabinet and tossed it to her. Then he turned on the electric kettle. I need to make a call, he said. I have some money stashed, passports. I can get you out of the city tonight. Aisha stopped rocking. She stared at his back. Get me out, she repeated. Just me. Ji-hyun froze. He turned around slowly. Aisha, I am a dead man walking right now, he said. Park will burn everything down to find me. I can't go with you. I have to stay and fix this, or at least distract them. So you are sending me away again, she said. Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was just tired. Years ago, you sent me away to save your career. Now you are sending me away to save your life. To save his life, Ji-hyun pointed at the bundle. Look at him, Aisha. He is here illegally. If Park finds out I have a kid with a deported woman, he won't just arrest you. He will make sure the boy disappears into the foster system and you rot in a prison cell. I am trying to protect you. Protect me? Aisha laughed, a harsh, broken sound. She stepped forward, letting the towel fall to the floor. She pulled the blanket away from the baby's face. Look at him, Ji-hyun. Really look at him. Ji-hyun looked. The boy was crying, his face red and scrunched up. His name is Kai, Aisha said. I named him Kai because it means ocean in Hawaiian, because we crossed an ocean to get away from the shame you put on me. Aisha. No, you listen, she said. I did it alone. I starved so he could eat. I walked miles so he could sleep. I came back here to this hell of a city because he needed medicine that I couldn't get in my village. I risked everything for him. She looked Ji-hyun dead in the eye. I am not running anymore. If you want to help us, you don't send us away. You fight for us. You fix this. That is what you do, isn't it? You are the fixer. Ji-hyun stared at her. He saw the fire in her eyes. It was the same fire that had made him fall in love with her 3 years ago when she was just a waitress who refused to let a customer disrespect her. She was right. Running wouldn't work. Park had reach everywhere. If Ji-hyun ran, he would be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life. There was only one way out. He had to destroy Councilman Park. He had to take down the man he had spent 5 years building up. He had to use all the dirty secrets he had buried to bury the mayor instead. Ji-hyun reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. It was buzzing. 15 missed calls from Mina, 3 from Park. He powered the phone off and threw it into the sink. "Okay," he said. "Okay, we don't run." He walked over to a metal cabinet and unlocked it. Inside were rows of hard drives, stacks of files, and a black handgun. "What are you doing?" Aisha asked, clutching Kai. Ji-hyun took the gun. He checked the magazine, the metallic click-clack loud in the small room. "I'm going to ruin the mayor," he said. He looked at Aisha. "And then I'm going to be the father I should have been." Aisha looked at the gun, then at him. She didn't look scared of the weapon. She looked at him like she was trying to decide if she could trust him one last time. "Do not make promises you can't keep, Lee Ji-hyun," she warned. "This isn't a promise," he said, tucking the gun into his waistband. "It's a contract, and I always fulfill my contracts." Suddenly, a loud pounding echoed from the heavy steel door. "Bang, bang, bang. Open up, we know you're in there." Ji-hyun's eyes widened. "How did they find us so fast?" "The phone," Aisha whispered, horror dawning on her face. "They tracked the phone before you turned it off." Ji-hyun cursed. He grabbed Aisha and pulled her toward the back of the room behind the heavy boiler unit. "Stay down," he hissed. "Do not make a sound." "Ji-hyun." "Trust me," he said. He turned to face the door. The pounding stopped. Then the sound of a drill. They were drilling the locks. Ji-hyun raised the gun. He was the best fixer in the city. But tonight he wasn't fixing a scandal. He was fighting a war, and he was already outnumbered. The drill bit punched through the steel door with a high-pitched screech. Sparks flew onto the concrete floor. "Get back," Ji-hyun ordered. He didn't shout. He was deadly calm. He raised the black handgun. His hand didn't shake. He had never shot a man in front of Aisha before. He'd never wanted her to see this part of him. The part that was a monster, but there was no choice now. The lock clicked. The door handle turned. Wham! A heavy boot kicked the door open. 2 men in dark raincoats surged in. They weren't police. Police shouted warnings. These men just raised their weapons. Ji-hyun fired. Bang, bang. The sound was deafening in the small concrete room. The first man grunted and spun around, clutching his shoulder. He fell back into the hallway, knocking over the second man. "Go," Ji-hyun grabbed Aisha's arm. "Behind the boiler now." Aisha didn't freeze. She held Kai tight against her chest and scrambled behind the massive, rusting water heater. There was a small, square panel on the wall near the floor. It was an old ventilation shaft. "It's too small," she cried, looking at the dark hole. "You fit," Ji-hyun said. He fired another shot at the doorway to keep the men back. Bullets pinged off the boiler, sending chips of paint flying. "Crawl, Aisha, go." He dropped to her knees. She shoved her bag through, then laid Kai on the floor of the shaft, pushing him gently ahead of her. She crawled in after him. Ji-hyun looked back at the door. A hand reached around the frame, firing blindly into the room. A bullet shattered the glass coffee pot on the counter. Ji-hyun turned and dove into the shaft. He squeezed his broad shoulders through the metal opening just as more men filled the room behind him. "He's in the vents, cut him off outside," a voice shouted. It was tight. Dark, it smelled like lint and dead rats. Ji-hyun crawled on his elbows, the metal scraping his skin. Ahead of him, he could hear Aisha's rapid breathing and Kai's soft, confused whimpers. "Keep moving," he whispered. "Don't stop." They crawled for 20 feet. The shaft sloped upward. Ji-hyun knew where this came out. It led to the alley behind the laundromat, behind the dumpsters. Aisha kicked open the grate at the end. She tumbled out onto the wet asphalt, pulling the baby with her. Ji-hyun scrambled out right behind her. The rain was still pouring. It washed the dust from the vent off their faces. "The car," Ji-hyun said, standing up and pulling Aisha to her feet. "We need a car." "You said we couldn't use yours," Aisha said, wiping rain from her eyes. She looked terrified, but her legs were moving. "We aren't using mine." Ji-hyun scanned the alley. It was empty, except for a beat-up delivery van parked near the back entrance of a bakery. The driver was probably inside dropping off crates for the morning rush. Ji-hyun ran to the van. The engine was off, but the door was unlocked. He jumped in the driver's seat. "Get in!" Aisha climbed into the passenger side. She looked at the dashboard. "There are no keys." "I don't need keys," Ji-hyun muttered. He reached under the steering column. He ripped the plastic cover off with a loud crack. His fingers worked fast, finding the wires. He had learned this when he was 15, stealing cars for the local gangs before he started wearing suits. He stripped 2 wires and touched them together. Sparks jumped. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. "Buckle up," he said. He slammed the van into gear and peeled out of the alley just as the men from the safe house burst out the back door. They raised their guns, but Ji-hyun swerved the van violently, using the heavy vehicle as a shield. A bullet shattered the back window. Glass sprayed over the empty metal floor in the back. Kai started to scream. "It's okay, SHH, it's okay," Aisha cooed, hunched over the baby, shielding him with her body. She looked at Ji-hyun, her eyes were wide. "They are shooting at us, they are actually shooting." "Welcome to my world," Ji-hyun said grimly. He drove fast, blowing through red lights, weaving between honking taxis. He didn't head for the highway. The highway would have cameras. He headed for the old industrial district where the streetlights were broken and the roads were full of potholes. He drove for an hour. He didn't speak. He just watched the rearview mirror, checking for headlights that followed them. When the city skyline was just a glow behind them, he finally slowed down. His heart was hammering against his ribs, but his hands were steady. "Where are we going?" Aisha asked. Her voice was small. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her shaking. "Somewhere cheap." "Somewhere they don't ask for ID," Ji-hyun said. He pulled into the parking lot of the Starlight Motel. The neon sign buzzed, half the letters burnt out. It just said Star. Mo. He parked the van in the shadows, away from the office. "Stay here," he said. "I have cash." He went into the office. The clerk was a kid with headphones on, barely looking up from his phone. Ji-hyun slapped $300 bills on the counter. "Room," he said. "Back row, no ID. We leave in the morning." The kid looked at the money, then at Ji-hyun's wet, dirty suit. He didn't ask questions. He slid a key across the counter. "Room 12, ice machine is broken." Ji-hyun took the key and went back to the van. He opened the passenger door. Aisha was asleep. Her head was resting against the cold window. She was still clutching Kai, who was also sleeping. They looked exhausted, broken. Ji-hyun felt a lump in his throat. He reached out and touched Aisha's shoulder gently. "Aisha, we're here." She jumped awake, gasping. Her eyes darted around wildly before settling on his face. She relaxed just a fraction. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of the wet clothes." The room smelled like stale smoke and lemon cleaner. The carpet was sticky, but there was a heater and the door had a deadbolt. Ji-hyun locked the door and shoved a chair under the handle. He peeked through the curtains. The parking lot was quiet. When he turned around, Aisha was sitting on the edge of the sagging bed. She had taken Kai out of his wet blanket and was checking his diaper. "He needs milk," she said without looking up. "I have a bottle in my bag, but I need water, warm water." Ji-hyun went to the bathroom sink. He ran the tap until the water was hot. He filled a plastic cup and brought it to her. He watched as she mixed the formula powder. Her hands were shaking, spilling a little of the white dust on the bedspread. "Let me," he said. "I can do it," she snapped. "Aisha, your hands are shaking." He reached out and took the bottle. She didn't fight him, she just let her hands drop to her lap. Ji-hyun mixed the bottle. He tested the temperature on his wrist, just like he had seen mothers do in movies. It felt okay. He handed it back to her. She fed Kai. The baby drank greedily, making soft, gulping sounds. The room was quiet except for the hum of the heater and the sound of the baby eating. Ji-hyun sat in the cheap armchair in the corner. He watched them. He couldn't look away. This was his son. His son had his nose. He had the same shape of ears. It was undeniable. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. His voice was rough. Aisha didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on Kai. "Tell you how? You blocked my number. You had your security keep me out of the building. You erased me, Ji-hyun." I would have helped with the baby." "Would you?" She finally looked at him. Her eyes were red, rimmed with dark circles. "You were about to marry the mayor's daughter." "A bastard child with an illegal immigrant. That doesn't fit the plan, Ji-hyun. You would have paid me to go away, or worse." "I would never hurt you," he said, feeling sick. "You already did," she whispered. "You broke my heart, then you broke my life, and tonight you almost got us killed. I saved you tonight. You put us in danger." She stood up, carefully placing the sleeping baby on the pillow. She turned on him, her anger flaring up again. "Those men, they were there for you, not me. We are only in this mess because of your dirty life." Ji-hyun stood up too. "You think I wanted this? I had everything, Aisha. I had the city in my hand. I threw it all away the second I saw you in that crosswalk. Do you want a medal?" she scoffed. "You want me to say thank you for doing the bare minimum of a decent human being. I want you to understand that I am trying to fix this." "You can't fix this," she yelled. Then she caught herself, glancing at the sleeping baby. She lowered her voice to a hiss. You can't fix the last 2 years. You missed his first steps. You missed his first word. You missed everything. She poked him hard in the chest. His first word was Dada. Did you know that? He pointed at a picture in a magazine of a man in a suit and said Dada. And I had to cry in the bathroom so he wouldn't see me upset. Ji-hyun felt like she had stabbed him. He stood there, the cheap suit clinging to his damp skin, feeling smaller than he ever had in his life. He reached out and grabbed her hand. She tried to pull away, but he held on. I'm sorry, he said, his voice cracked. I am so sorry, Aisha. She stopped fighting. She looked down at their joined hands. Her hand was rough, calloused from hard work. His was smooth, manicured. Sorry doesn't buy diapers, she said softly. Sorry doesn't get us out of this room. I know. He stepped closer. He could smell the rain on her hair, mixed with the cheap motel soap. It was the scent of home. I know I can't take back the past, but I can give you a future. I swear to you, Aisha. I will burn Park down. I will take everything from him, and I will give it to you and Kai. I don't want his money, she said. She looked up at him. Her eyes were searching his face. I just want to be safe. I want to stop running. You stop running today, he said. He leaned in. It was a mistake. He knew it was a mistake, but he couldn't help it. He kissed her. For a second, she was stiff, rigid. Then, with a small sob, she melted against him. Her arms went around his neck, pulling him down. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was desperate. It was full of 2 years of anger and longing and fear. It tasted like tears and rain. Ji-hyun held her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to the earth. He buried his face in her neck, breathing her in. I missed you, he mumbled against her skin. God, I missed you. She pulled back, pushing against his chest. She was breathing hard. No, she said. No, we can't do this, not now. Aisha. Focus, Ji-hyun, she said, though her hand lingered on his chest for a second before dropping. You said you had a plan. What is the plan? Ji-hyun took a deep breath. He ran a hand through his hair, slicking it back. She was right. He needed to think like the fixer, not the ex-boyfriend. He walked over to the TV in the corner of the room and turned it on. First, he said, we need to see what they are saying about us. The screen flickered to life. It was a local news channel. The breaking news banner was flashing red at the bottom of the screen, and there was Ji-hyun's face. It was a photo from his engagement party. He was smiling, holding a champagne glass. Next to it was a grainy security camera photo of him in the alley, dragging Aisha toward the safe house. The headline read, Campaign Aide Goes Rogue, Kidnapping and Attempted Murder. The news anchor's voice was grave. Police are searching for Lee Ji-hyun, a top aide to Councilman Park. Authorities say Lee attacked the councilman's daughter, Mina Park, earlier this evening before fleeing the scene. He is believed to be armed and dangerous. The screen changed. It showed a photo of Mina. She had a bandage on her forehead. She was crying, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. He was acting strange, Mina sobbed into the microphone at a press conference. He started screaming about money. Then he grabbed a woman off the street. He forced her into his car. She had a baby. Oh God, he took the baby. Ji-hyun stared at the screen. His jaw tightened until his teeth hurt. She's lying, Aisha whispered, horrified. She is twisting everything. Councilman Park has issued a statement, the anchor continued. He is offering a 50 million won reward for information leading to the capture of Lee Ji-hyun. He urges citizens not to approach the suspect. Ji-hyun laughed. It was a cold, dry laugh. 50 million, he said. He really wants me dead. He turned off the TV. The room went dark again. They think you kidnapped me, Aisha said. If people see us, they will think I am a victim. No, Ji-hyun said. If the police find us, they might treat you like a victim, but if Park's men find us, they know the truth. They know you are the loose end. He walked to the window and looked out at the van. It was a target now. They couldn't use it much longer. We need leverage, Ji-hyun said. Park thinks he controls the narrative. He thinks he can paint me as the villain and win the election on sympathy. He turned to Aisha. I need to get to my office. Your office? Aisha asked. They will be watching it, the police, Park's men, everyone. Not my campaign office, Ji-hyun said. My real office, the one Park doesn't know about. He looked at his watch. 3:00 a.m. There is a hard drive, he explained. For 5 years, I recorded everything, every bribe Park took. Every union leader he threatened. Every illegal deal with the construction companies. It's my insurance policy. Where is it? It's in a locker at the central train station, Ji-hyun said. It's the only place neutral enough. I need to get that drive. If I give that to the press, Park goes to jail for the rest of his life. And us? Aisha asked. And us? Ji-hyun looked at her, then at the sleeping baby. We get immunity. I trade the drive for your citizenship, for Kai's future. Aisha bit her lip. She looked scared, but there was a spark of hope in her eyes. "Can we trust the police?" she asked. "No," Ji-hyun said. "We can't trust anyone, that's why I'm going alone." "What?" Aisha stood up. "No, you are not leaving us here. Aisha, look at the TV. Every cop in the city is looking for me. If I take you and the baby to the train station, we will be spotted in seconds. You are safer here." "I am not safe anywhere without you," she argued. "If they find this motel. If they find me alone." "They won't," Ji-hyun promised. He grabbed the car keys. "I will be back in 2 hours. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone. If I'm not back by sunrise." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wad of cash and the gun. He put them on the bed. "If I'm not back, you take the money, you take the van, you drive south. Don't stop until you hit the coast. Find a boat." Aisha looked at the gun. Then she looked at him. Tears welled up in her eyes again. "You are coming back," she said fiercely. "You owe me, Lee Ji-hyun. You owe me a life. You don't get to die on me now." He grabbed her face in his hands and kissed her forehead. "I'll be back," he whispered. He turned and walked out the door into the rain. The central train station was a fortress of glass and steel. Even at 4:00 a.m. there were people, homeless men sleeping on benches, cleaning crews buffing the floors, drunk businessmen missing the last train. Ji-hyun pulled his hoodie up. He kept his head down. He had ditched the suit jacket and was wearing a stolen maintenance worker's jacket he found in the van. He walked past a pair of police officers. They were drinking coffee, laughing. They didn't look at him. He moved toward the locker bank in the West Wing. His heart was pounding. This was it, the key to his freedom, the key to Aisha's life. He reached locker 405. He punched in the code, Aisha's birthday. The lock beeped green. It clicked open. Ji-hyun reached inside. His hand closed around. Nothing. He froze. He leaned down and looked inside. The locker was empty. No hard drive, no files, just empty metal. "Looking for this?" A voice came from behind him. A smooth, oily voice. Ji-hyun slowly turned around. Standing there, holding a silver flash drive between his fingers, was Councilman Park. He wasn't alone. 6 men in suits surrounded him. They had their hands inside their jackets. Park smiled. It was the smile that had won him the polls. It's the smile of a shark. "Did you really think I didn't know about the locker, Ji-hyun?" Park asked. He tutted softly. "I trained you, I made you. You think you can keep secrets from me." Ji-hyun stepped back, his back hitting the lockers. He was trapped. "You can't use that," Ji-hyun said, his voice low. "If you destroy it, the cloud backup triggers." "There is no cloud backup," Park said, laughing. "You're too paranoid for the cloud. You like physical copies. That's your weakness. You're old-fashioned." Park dropped the flash drive onto the concrete floor. He crushed it under the heel of his expensive Italian shoe. Crunch. "There goes your leverage," Park said. He signaled to his men. "Take him quietly and find out where he hid the girl. I want this loose end tied up before breakfast." Ji-hyun clenched his fists. He had no gun. He had no backup. He had 6 trained killers between him and the exit. He smiled. "You think I came here alone?" Ji-hyun asked. Park's smile faltered. "What?" "I'm the fixer," Ji-hyun said. "I never walk into a trap unless I set one first." Suddenly, the fire alarm screamed. "Wah, WH. The sprinklers on the ceiling exploded. Water sprayed down in a torrent, soaking everyone instantly. The cleaning crew nearby, the ones Ji-hyun had walked past, dropped their mops. They pulled stun batons from their coveralls. They weren't cleaners. "Now!" Ji-hyun shouted. He didn't attack Park. He turned and ran. Not toward the exit, but toward the tracks. He had to get back to Aisha. But first, he had to survive the next 5 minutes. Park screamed orders, but his voice was drowned out by the alarm and the chaos. Ji-hyun vaulted the turnstile and sprinted down the escalator. He could hear footsteps pounding behind him. The game had changed. He didn't have the evidence anymore. He only had his life. And he had to keep it long enough to get back to room 12, because if Park got to the motel first. Ji-hyun jumped off the platform just as the headlight of a cargo train approached. He didn't look back. The wind on top of the cargo train cut through Ji-hyun's wet clothes like a knife. He lay flat against the cold metal roof of the container, holding onto a rusty handle. The train was moving fast, clattering over the tracks, heading away from the city. He had to time this perfectly. If he jumped too soon, he would hit a concrete pillar. If he jumped too late, he would end up in the rail yard where security dogs would be waiting. He watched the passing lights. He knew this route. He had used it to smuggle goods years ago. There was a bend coming up near the river. The train would have to slow down. The brakes screeched. Sparks flew from the wheels below. The train jerked, slowing its pace. Now, Ji-hyun rolled to the edge and pushed himself off. He hit the gravel slope on the side of the tracks. He didn't land gracefully. He tumbled, his shoulders slamming into the rocks, his face scraping against the dirt. He rolled all the way down to the muddy bank of the Han River. He lay there for a minute, staring up at the gray sky. Rain fell into his eyes. He checked his body. Nothing was broken, but everything hurt. His expensive suit pants were torn. His hands were bleeding. "Get up," he told himself. He forced himself to stand. He was 5 miles from the motel. He had no car. He had no phone. And Councilman Park knew he was alive. Ji-hyun started to run. He stayed off the main roads. He ran along the river path, hiding in the shadows of the bridges whenever a police car drove by on the highway above. He thought about the flash drive. The sound of it crunching under Park's shoe played over and over in his head. That was his shield. That was his bargaining chip. Without it, he was just a thug with a bounty on his head. And Aisha. Fear spiked in his chest. He had left her alone. He had promised to be back in 2 hours. It had been 3. He ran faster. Inside room 12, the air was thick with tension. Aisha sat on the floor, her back against the bed. The gun Ji-hyun had left was heavy in her hand. She had never held a gun before tonight. It felt cold and evil, but she wouldn't let go of it. Kai was awake. He was sitting on the blanket, chewing on a plastic spoon. He didn't know that his mother was terrified. He didn't know his father was being hunted. He just knew he was hungry. "SHH, baby, please," Aisha whispered. "Be quiet." Outside, a car door slammed. Aisha flinched. She raised the gun toward the door. Her hands shook so bad the barrel wobbled. Footsteps on the pavement, heavy steps. They stopped right outside the door. Aisha held her breath. "Please go away. Please be the wrong room." The doorknob turned. It was locked, blocked by the chair. "Aisha." It was a whisper, rough, pained. She lowered the gun slightly. "Ji-hyun, let me in, quickly." She scrambled up, pulling the chair away and undoing the deadbolt. She cracked the door open. Ji-hyun slipped inside and immediately locked the door behind him. Aisha gasped when she saw him. He was covered in mud. There was a cut above his eye that was bleeding freely. He looked like he had been in a war. "You're hurt," she said. "I'm fine," he breathed, leaning against the wall. He looked at the gun in her hand. "Put the safety on." Aisha looked at the gun, realized her finger was still on the trigger, and quickly set it down on the dresser. "Did you get it?" she asked. "The drive." Ji-hyun closed his eyes. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor. He put his head in his hands. "No," the word hung in the room. "What do you mean, no?" Aisha asked, her voice rising. "You said that was our ticket out. You said that would save us." "Park was there," Ji-hyun said. "He knew. He destroyed it." Aisha felt the blood drain from her face. She sat down on the bed, staring at him. "So we have nothing," she said. "We have no leverage. We are just running." "We aren't just running," Ji-hyun said. He looked up. His eyes were dark, dangerous. "We are fighting." "With what?" Aisha yelled. "Look at you. You are beaten. You have no weapon, no proof, no money except what is in your pocket. How do we fight the mayor?" "Because I know where the bodies are buried," Ji-hyun said. "Even without the drive." "I know things. I know people." "People," Aisha scoffed. "Like who? Your rich friends. They will sell you out for a favor from Park." "Not friends," Ji-hyun said. "Enemies." He stood up, groaning as his bruised ribs protested. He went to the sink and splashed water on his face, washing away the mud and blood. "There is a woman," he said, looking at his reflection in the dirty mirror. "Her name is Madame Jang. She runs the red light district in the south side." "A pimp?" Aisha asked, disgusted. "That is your plan. We go to a pimp." "She is an information broker," Ji-hyun corrected. "Park used her to get elected. He used her girls to blackmail his opponents. Then when he won, he tried to shut her down to look clean. He raided her clubs, put her son in jail." Ji-hyun turned to face Aisha. "She hates him more than I do, and she keeps records, paper records, not digital." "And why would she help you?" Aisha asked. "You worked for Park. You were the one who probably organized the raids." Ji-hyun looked away. "I did. I arrested her son." Aisha stared at him. "You are crazy. She will kill you the moment you walk in the door." "Maybe," Ji-hyun said, "but she wants her son out of prison. I can get him out." "How?" "I know which judge took a bribe to sentence him," Ji-hyun said. "I can give her the judge. She gives me the dirt on Park." It was a long shot. It was a suicide mission. But Aisha looked at Kai, who was now crawling toward Ji-hyun's muddy shoes. She picked up the baby. "We can't stay here," she said. "No," Ji-hyun agreed. "Park knows I didn't have the drive. He knows I'm desperate. He will check the cheap motels next. We have to move." "The van, too hot, we ditch it." "Then how do we get to the south side?" Ji-hyun looked at her. "We steal a better car." The rain had stopped, leaving the city slick and black. They left the motel through the back window, just in case anyone was watching the front. They walked 2 blocks to a residential street lined with nice houses. Ji-hyun scanned the driveways. He needed something common, nothing too flashy, nothing too old. He found a silver sedan. It was a family car. There was a baby seat in the back. "This one," he said. He used a thin strip of metal he had picked up from the train tracks to shimmy the lock. It took 10 seconds. "Get in," he whispered. Aisha got in the back with Kai. She buckled him into the car seat. It was strange, using another family's car seat. It made her feel like a criminal. But then she remembered the men with guns and the feeling passed. Ji-hyun hotwired the car. He was faster this time. His hands were steady. They drove in silence. The city started to wake up. Delivery trucks were on the road. The sky was turning a bruised purple. Ji-hyun kept his eyes on the mirrors. Every police car they passed made his muscles tense. "You look tired," Aisha said from the back seat. Ji-hyun looked at her in the rearview mirror. "I'm fine." "You are not fine, you are bleeding again." He touched his forehead. The cut had opened up. "It doesn't matter," he said. "It matters to him," Aisha said softly. Ji-hyun looked in the mirror again. Kai was awake, kicking his legs, watching the streetlights go by. "He looks like you," Ji-hyun said, "but he has your chin. Stubborn." "He is stubborn," Aisha agreed. A small smile touched her lips. "He refuses to sleep unless I sing to him." "What do you sing?" "Old songs, songs from home, songs you wouldn't know." There was a silence, but it wasn't heavy like before. It was sad but connected. "I remember," Ji-hyun said. "I remember the song you used to hum when you were cooking." Aisha looked out the window. "That was a long time ago, Ji-hyun. That girl is gone." "I know," he said. "I killed her." The words hung in the air, heavy and true. He hadn't killed her body, but he had killed her innocence. He had killed the soft, hopeful girl who thought love could conquer anything. "I will make it right," he swore, gripping the steering wheel. "I will give you a life where you don't have to be strong all the time." "Just drive," she said. The red light district was different in the daylight. It looked tired. The neon signs were off. Trash was piled in the gutters. The women who worked the corners were gone, replaced by street sweepers and hungover tourists looking for a taxi. Ji-hyun parked the stolen car in an alley behind a club called the Velvet Cage. "Stay here," he said. "No," Aisha said. She opened her door. "I am not waiting in the car while you get yourself killed." "Aisha, this place is dangerous. Madame Jang is not a nice woman." "I have survived worse than a brothel, madam," Aisha said. She hoisted Kai onto her hip. "And if you die in there, I am stuck here with no plan. We go together." Ji-hyun looked at her. She was wearing a stained hoodie and jeans, holding a baby, but she looked like a queen. She had a fire in her that scared him a little. "Fine," he said, "but you stand behind me, and if I say run, you run." They walked to the back door of the club. A massive man with a shaved head was sitting on a crate, smoking a cigarette. He stood up when he saw Ji-hyun. He reached into his jacket. "Don't," Ji-hyun said, holding up his empty hands. "I'm here to see Madame Jang." The bouncer squinted. "You look like garbage, get lost." "Tell her the fixer is here," Ji-hyun said. "Tell her I have a gift for her son." The bouncer paused. He looked at Aisha and the baby. Then he tapped his earpiece and muttered something. A moment later, the door buzzed. "She says come in, but if you try anything, you don't leave." They walked into the club. It smelled of stale beer and cheap perfume. The floor was sticky. They walked past the empty stage and up a flight of stairs to a private office. The office was surprisingly elegant. Red velvet walls, gold furniture, and a massive oak desk. Behind the desk sat Madame Jang. She was in her 60s, wearing a silk robe and smoking a long, thin cigarette. Her hair was dyed jet black and her eyes were sharp as razors. She didn't smile. "Lee Ji-hyun," she said. Her voice was smoke and gravel. "You have some nerve coming here. The last time I saw you, you were putting handcuffs on my boy." "I was doing my job," Ji-hyun said, standing in the middle of the room. He positioned himself so he was shielding Aisha. "Your job," Madame Jang scoffed. She looked at Aisha. "And who is this, the nanny, or did you finally find a woman foolish enough to love you?" "This is my family," Ji-hyun said. Madame Jang raised an eyebrow. "Family? You don't have a family, fixer, you have clients." "I'm not here as the fixer," Ji-hyun said. "I'm here as a man who wants to make a deal." "I don't make deals with rats," she spat. She reached for a button on her desk. "I should have my men peel your skin off." "I can get Min-ho out," Ji-hyun said quickly. Madame Jang's hand froze over the button. "What did you say?" "Min-ho," Ji-hyun said. "Your son, he's in Incheon Penitentiary, serving 10 years for racketeering. I can get him out." "He was denied appeal last week," she said coldly. "Because the judge was paid off," Ji-hyun said. "Kim, he took a bribe from Councilman Park to make sure Min-ho stayed inside. Park wanted you weak. He wanted your leverage gone." Madame Jang's eyes narrowed. "And how does that help me now?" I know where the money went, Ji-hyun said. I know the offshore account Judge Kim uses. If you give that information to the prosecutor, the trial is a mistrial. Min-ho walks free. Madam Jang sat back. She took a long drag of her cigarette. She studied Ji-hyun's face. And why would you help me? You work for Park. Not anymore, Ji-hyun said. Park is trying to kill me. He tried to kill her. He nodded at Aisha. And my son. Madam Jang looked at the baby. Kai was awake, looking around the red room with wide eyes. For a second, the old woman's face softened, then it hardened again. You want to trade, she said. My son's freedom for what? Dirt on Park, Ji-hyun said. Real dirt, not the digital stuff. I know you kept the ledger, Jang. The book with the dates and the names of the girls. Madam Jang went still. That book is my life insurance. If I give it to you, Park will burn this place down. He is going to burn it down anyway, Ji-hyun said. Once he is mayor, he will wipe out the whole district to build his new casino. You know it. Madam Jang knew it. She looked at the desk. You bring me the proof about the judge, she said. Then we talk about the book. I can't get the proof without a computer, Ji-hyun said. And a secure line, and I need a doctor and fresh clothes. Madam Jang laughed. So you want me to hide you, feed you, and clothe you? You really are arrogant, Ji-hyun. I am desperate, he said. Madam Jang looked at Aisha again. Aisha met her gaze. She didn't look away. He is telling the truth, Aisha said. Her voice was clear. Park will kill us if we leave, and he will kill you next. Madam Jang stubbed out her cigarette. Fine, she said. You can stay in the basement. But if the police come, I don't know you. She threw a key on the desk. Room 4. There's a first aid kit in the bathroom. Don't bleed on my sheets. The basement room was better than the motel, but not by much. It was windowless and soundproofed, probably used for things Ji-hyun didn't want to think about, but it had a sturdy lock and a laptop on the desk. Ji-hyun sat at the desk immediately. His fingers flew across the keyboard. He wasn't a hacker, but he knew passwords. He knew the accounts. Aisha sat on the bed, cleaning the cut on his head with alcohol. Ouch, he hissed. Hold still, she said. She put a butterfly bandage over the wound. You need stitches. Later, he said, I found it. He pointed at the screen. It was a bank statement, an account in the Cayman Islands under a shell company name. This is Judge Kim's account, he said. Look at the deposit, 50 million won. The same day Min-ho's appeal was denied. Is that enough? Aisha asked. It's a start, Ji-hyun said. He printed the page. I'll take this to Jang. He stood up, but a wave of dizziness hit him. He grabbed the desk to steady himself. Ji-hyun, Aisha grabbed his arm. You are running on fumes. You haven't slept in 20 hours. You lost blood. I have to finish this, he muttered. You are no good to us dead, she said sternly. Sleep just for an hour. I will watch the door. I can't. Sleep, she ordered. She pushed him toward the bed. Ji-hyun sat down. The mattress felt like a cloud. His body screamed for rest. 1 hour, he said. Wake me up in 1 hour. Okay, she lied. He lay back. He looked at her. She was sitting in the chair, the gun in her lap, watching the door. She looked like a soldier. Aisha, he mumbled, his eyes closing. I love you. She didn't answer. He fell asleep before he could hear her sigh. Ji-hyun woke up to the sound of screaming. He shot up in bed, heart hammering. The room was dark. Aisha, she was gone. The baby was gone. The door was open. Scrambled up, grabbing the gun from the bedside table, she had left it. He ran into the hallway. The screaming was coming from upstairs. It was Madam Jang. Ji-hyun ran up the stairs, ignoring the pain in his ribs. He burst into the office. The room was wrecked. The desk was overturned. Madam Jang was on the floor, bleeding from her mouth. 2 men in suits were standing over her, Park's men. Where is he? One of them shouted, kicking her. Go to hell, Madam Jang spat. Ji-hyun raised the gun. Hey, the men turned. Pop, pop. Ji-hyun didn't hesitate. He shot them both in the legs. They went down, screaming. He ran to Madam Jang. Where are they? Where is Aisha? They took them, Madam Jang wheezed. She pointed to the window. Black van just now. Ji-hyun felt his soul leave his body. Who? Park himself, she coughed. He came in the back way. He knew. He knew we were here. Ji-hyun looked at the men on the floor. One of them was reaching for his radio. Ji-hyun kicked the radio away and stomped on the man's hand. He leaned down, pressing the gun to the man's forehead. Where is he taking them? Ji-hyun roared. The man laughed, blood bubbling on his lips. It's over, Fixer. He's taking them to the construction site. The foundation pouring is today. The construction site. The new casino. Park's pet project. Foundation pouring, Ji-hyun whispered. His blood ran cold. He knew what that meant. In the Mafia world, foundation pouring meant burying problems where no one would ever find them, under 10 feet of concrete. Ji-hyun stood up. He looked at Madam Jang. Can you move? I'll live, she groaned. Go get that bastard. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small black notebook. Here, she said. The ledger, use it. Ji-hyun took the book. This was it, the nuclear option. Thank you, he said. He ran out of the club. He jumped into the stolen sedan. He drove like a madman. He didn't care about the police. He didn't care about the traffic. He had 20 minutes to get to the construction site before they buried his wife and son in wet cement. The construction site was a massive skeleton of steel and dirt near the waterfront. High-powered floodlights lit up the center pit. A concrete mixer truck was idling, its drums spinning with a low rumble. Ji-hyun crashed the car through the chain-link fence. He slammed on the brakes and jumped out, gun in hand. He saw them. At the edge of the deep foundation pit, Councilman Park stood in a pristine raincoat. 2 guards held Aisha. She was struggling, screaming, kicking at them. Another guard held Kai. He was holding the baby over the edge of the pit. Stop, Ji-hyun screamed. Park turned. He smiled. Right on time, Ji-hyun. I knew you wouldn't miss the ceremony. Let them go, Ji-hyun said, walking forward. It's me you want. I wanted you yesterday, Park said. Today I want to clean my slate. No loose ends. No bastard children, no deported ex-girlfriends. He nodded to the guard holding Kai. Drop him. No, Aisha screamed. She bit the hand of the guard holding her. He flinched and she broke free. She lunged toward the guard holding Kai. The guard panicked. He stepped back. His foot slipped on the wet mud at the edge of the pit. He fell. He fell into the pit, taking the baby with him. Kai! Aisha didn't think. She jumped. She jumped into the darkness after her son. Ji-hyun watched in horror. Kill him! Park shouted at the remaining guards. Ji-hyun didn't feel fear. He felt a cold, white rage. He raised his gun. He didn't aim for the guards. He aimed for the concrete mixer's controls. He fired 3 shots. Clang, clang, clang. The hydraulic hose on the truck burst. High-pressure oil sprayed everywhere. The drums sped up, spinning wildly, spraying wet concrete all over Park and his men. It was chaos. Ji-hyun sprinted to the edge of the pit. It was 10 feet deep. At the bottom, in the rebar mesh, Aisha was huddled. She had landed on a pile of sandbags. She was holding Kai. Aisha, I have him, she yelled up. He is okay, but we can't get out. The guard who had fallen was groaning, his leg twisted at a bad angle. Above, Park was wiping concrete from his eyes. Shoot him now. Bullets hit the mud around Ji-hyun. He had to get them out, but he was pinned down. Suddenly, sirens wailed, not police sirens. A heavy horn blasted. A massive dump truck plowed through the entrance gate. Then another and another. They weren't police. They were construction vehicles, but painted on the side was a red dragon logo, Madame Zhang's logo. The trucks circled Park's men, boxing them in. Men with baseball bats and chains jumped out of the trucks. Madame Zhang hadn't just given him the book. She had called in the cavalry. Ji-hyun smiled. Cover me, he shouted to the new arrivals. Zhang's men charged Park's security. It was a brawl. Ji-hyun jumped into the pit. He landed hard, rolling to absorb the impact. He crawled to Aisha. She was shaking, clutching Kai so tight her knuckles were white. Are you hurt? He asked. My ankle, she gasped. I think it's broken. Put your arms around my neck. He lifted her up. She was heavy, but he didn't care. He found a ladder made of rebar on the side of the wall. Hold on, he grunted. He climbed out, one hand on the ladder, one arm holding his family. When he reached the top, the fight was over. Park's men were on the ground. Park himself was being held by 2 of Zhang's burly truckers. Ji-hyun set Aisha down gently. He checked Kai. The baby was crying, but he looked unharmed. Ji-hyun turned to Park. The councilman looked small now, covered in mud and concrete, held by thugs. It's over, Park, Ji-hyun said. He pulled the black notebook from his pocket. The ledger, Park whispered. His face went pale. Everything, Ji-hyun said. Every bribe. Every girl, every murder. Park dropped to his knees. Ji-hyun, please, we can make a deal. I have money, millions. Take it all, just give me the book. Ji-hyun looked at the book, then he looked at Aisha. She was sitting in the mud, rocking their son, looking at him with eyes that were no longer full of hate but relief. I don't want your money, Ji-hyun said. He tossed the book to one of Zhang's men. Give this to the press, he ordered. And the police. He walked over to Park. He leaned down close. You're going to prison, old man, and you're going to die there. Ji-hyun turned his back on him. He walked over to Aisha. He scooped her up in his arms again. Where are we going? She asked, resting her head on his shoulder. Home, he said. We don't have a home, she whispered. We do now, Ji-hyun said. Anywhere we are together, that's home. He carried her through the rain, past the defeated villain, past the chaos, toward a future that was finally truly theirs. The flashing blue lights of the police cruisers reflected off the wet pavement, turning the construction site into a chaotic disco. Paramedics were already swarming around the pit. One was checking the guard who fell. He was screaming about his leg. Another team was checking Aisha and Kai. Ji-hyun sat on the bumper of an ambulance, a thick orange blanket draped over his shoulders. A paramedic was dabbing at the cut on his head with alcohol. It stung, but Ji-hyun barely felt it. His eyes were locked on Aisha. She was sitting on a stretcher a few feet away. They had put a splint on her ankle. Kai was in her lap, wrapped in a thermal foil blanket, drinking juice from a sippy cup a nurse had found. "Sir, you need to look at me," the paramedic said, waving a penlight in Ji-hyun's eyes. "Follow the light." Ji-hyun swatted the hand away. "I'm fine." "You have a concussion, Mr. Lee. You need a CT scan." "I said I'm fine." Ji-hyun stood up, the blanket sliding off his dirty suit. A police detective stepped in front of him. He was an older man with a tired face and a cheap raincoat. Detective Choi. Ji-hyun knew him. He had bribed him twice in the past 5 years to lose evidence. "Sit down, Ji-hyun," Detective Choi said. He didn't look happy. "You made a hell of a mess tonight." "I cleaned up a mess," Ji-hyun corrected. His voice was raspy. "Did you get the book?" "We got the book," Choi said. He lit a cigarette, cupping his hand against the wind. "And we got Park. He's screaming for his lawyer, but with what is in that ledger, no lawyer in this city will touch him." "Good." Ji-hyun looked past the detective toward Aisha. "I'm taking them with me." Choi laughed, a dry, hacking sound. "You aren't going anywhere, Fixer. You are under arrest. Kidnapping, assault, grand theft auto, possession of an illegal firearm. The list is long." Ji-hyun stepped closer. He lowered his voice. "Gave you the mayor," he said. "That book brings down Park, Judge Kim, and half the city council. It makes you the hero cop who cleaned up Seoul. You get a promotion, you get a commendation." "So?" Choi asked, blowing smoke. "So I walk," Ji-hyun said. "And she walks. Aisha and the boy, they get visas, victim protection visas, immediate status." Choi looked at Aisha, then back at Ji-hyun. "And you?" "I don't care what happens to me," Ji-hyun lied. "But she gets papers, tonight, or I stop talking." "I tell the press I forged the book. I tell them I paid you to plant it." Choi stared at him. It was a bluff. They both knew the book was real, but Choi also knew that a trial without a cooperative witness was a nightmare. And he knew Ji-hyun could drag everyone down with him. "You really love her, huh?" Choi asked, shaking his head. "The cold-hearted bastard actually has a heart. Do we have a deal?" Choi dropped his cigarette and crushed it with his shoe. "The girl gets a visa. We process her as a trafficking victim. You plead guilty to a lesser charge. Assault, you do probation, community service, and you disappear. You get out of the game, Ji-hyun, for good." "Done," Ji-hyun said. He walked past the detective. He went to the stretcher where Aisha sat. She looked up. Her eyes were wide, scared. "What did he say?" she asked. "Are they taking you?" "No," Ji-hyun said. He reached out and touched Kai's cheek. The baby smiled at him. It was the first time his son had smiled at him. It felt better than any paycheck he had ever earned. "We are going to the hospital," Ji-hyun said. "Then we are going to figure out the rest." "Together?" she asked. Ji-hyun took her hand. It was cold and covered in mud. He squeezed it tight. "Together." The next 3 days were a blur of fluorescent lights and hospital smells. Ji-hyun stayed in the chair next to Aisha's bed. He refused to leave. When the nurses tried to kick him out at visiting hours, he just stared at them until they walked away nervously. Aisha had a hairline fracture in her ankle. She needed a cast and rest. Kai was fine, just a little dehydrated and a mild cold from the rain. Ji-hyun wasn't fine. His ribs were bruised, his head pounded constantly, and he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Park holding Kai over the pit. He saw the guard falling. He saw Aisha jumping. He spent his time on a burner phone Madame Jang had sent over with a fruit basket. He was tying up loose ends. He moved money from his offshore accounts. He paid off the debts Aisha had mentioned, her cousin's loan, the hospital bills. On the 3rd day, Detective Choi came by. He dropped a thick manila envelope on the tray table. "Passports," Choi said, "and permanent residency cards, expedited. Don't ask me who I had to blackmail to get them this fast." Aisha picked up the envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. She pulled out the small blue booklet. It had her photo. It had her name. She started to cry. Silent, heavy tears. "Thank you," she whispered to the detective. "Don't thank me," Choi grunted, looking at Ji-hyun. "Thank him, he traded his immunity for your papers." Choi looked at Ji-hyun. "You have a court date on Monday, don't miss it. Probation officer is assigned. One step out of line, Ji-hyun, and I lock you up." "I know," Ji-hyun said. When the detective left, the room was quiet. Aisha looked at Ji-hyun. "You gave up your immunity. It doesn't matter." "It matters." She reached out and grabbed his arm. "You could go to jail if you mess up. You are on a leash now." "I've always been on a leash, Aisha," he said, covering her hand with his. Before it was Park holding it, now it's the law. I can live with the law. I couldn't live with Park. She looked at him, studying his face. The bruises were turning yellow and purple. He looked tired, older than his 30 years. Why? She asked. Why go this far? Ji-hyun looked at Kai, who was sleeping in the crib the hospital had provided. Because I missed the first word, he said softly. I'm not going to miss the second one. They moved into a small apartment in a quiet district on the edge of the city. It wasn't luxury. It was a walk-up on the 3rd floor. The paint was peeling in the hallway and the radiator clanked at night, but it was safe. It was under a fake name, and it had a big window that let in the sunlight. The first week was awkward. They were living together, but they were strangers. They were two people with a shared trauma and a shared child trying to figure out how to be a family. Ji-hyun slept on the couch. He said it was because his ribs hurt and he needed to be upright, but really he didn't want to presume. He didn't want to push her. Aisha hopped around on crutches. She cooked simple meals, rice, soup, stew. One night it rained, a heavy, pounding rain that sounded like stones hitting the roof. Ji-hyun was sitting at the small kitchen table, staring at the classified ads in the newspaper. He was looking for a job, a real job. Construction, maybe, or driving a delivery truck, something where he didn't have to lie. Thunder cracked. In the bedroom, Kai started to scream. Ji-hyun dropped the paper and ran. He beat Aisha to the bedroom. He scooped the baby up from the crib. Kai was wailing, his little face red and wet with tears. It's okay, Ji-hyun hushed, rocking him. It's just noise, Kai, just the sky being loud. He walked around the dark room, bouncing the baby gently. He hummed a low, tuneless sound. He felt awkward. His hands were too big, too rough. He was used to holding guns, not babies, but Kai settled. The crying turned into soft hiccups. The baby rested his head on Ji-hyun's shoulder, his tiny hand gripping Ji-hyun's t-shirt. Ji-hyun stood there in the dark, smelling the baby powder and milk, and he felt a lump in his throat so big he couldn't swallow. He didn't hear Aisha come in. You are good with him, she said softly. Ji-hyun jumped. He turned around. Aisha was leaning against the doorframe, her crutches set aside. She was balancing on her good leg. He was scared, Ji-hyun whispered. I know. She hopped closer. She reached out and touched Kai's back. He likes you, he knows you. He doesn't know me, Ji-hyun said. I'm a stranger. Blood knows blood, Aisha said. She looked up at him. The room was dark, lit only by the street lamp outside the window. Her eyes were soft. Put him down, she said. He's asleep. Ji-hyun carefully lowered Kai back into the crib. He covered him with the blanket. When he stood up, Aisha was right there. You sleep on the couch, she said. It wasn't a question. My ribs, he lied. Your ribs are fine, she said. You sleep on the couch because you think you don't deserve the bed. You think you are dirty. Ji-hyun looked away. I am dirty, Aisha. You know what I've done. You know who I was. I know who you were, she said. She took a step closer, closing the gap between them. She placed her hand on his chest, right over his heart. But I also know who you are now. You are the man who jumped into a pit for us. You are the man who gave up his power for a piece of paper that says I exist. I had to. You chose to, she corrected. And now I am choosing. She reached up and touched his face. Her thumb brushed over the healing cut on his eyebrow. Come to bed, Ji-hyun. His heart hammered against his ribs. Are you sure? I am tired of sleeping alone, she whispered. And the couch is terrible for your back. She kissed him. It wasn't desperate like the kiss in the motel. It was slow, gentle. It was a question and an answer all at once. Ji-hyun wrapped his arms around her waist, careful of her bad foot. He pulled her close. He kissed her back, pouring every ounce of regret and love he had into it. He carried her to the bed. That night, for the first time in years, Ji-hyun didn't dream of dark alleys or broken contracts. He slept dreamlessly, wrapped around the woman he loved, with the sound of his son's breathing filling the room. 6 months later, the morning sun hit the flower shop window, making the buckets of roses and lilies glow. Ji-hyun wiped his hands on his apron. He was wearing jeans and a gray t-shirt. No suit, no tie. He had dirt under his fingernails, but it was honest dirt potting soil. Hey, more hydrangeas out front. Madame Jang barked the order from behind the counter. She was sitting on a stool, smoking her thin cigarette despite the no smoking sign. She had retired from the club business after the raid. Now she ran this flower shop. It was a front, of course. In the back room, she still brokered information for high-end clients. But out front, she sold bouquets. And she had hired Ji-hyun. I'm on it, Ji-hyun said, grabbing a crate of blue flowers. He carried them out to the sidewalk. A car pulled up, a black luxury sedan. Ji-hyun stiffened. Old instincts flared up. He scanned the street. The window rolled down. It wasn't a hitman, it was Mina. The mayor's daughter, well, the disgraced ex-councilman's daughter, she looked different. She wasn't wearing designer sunglasses. She looked tired. She was driving a regular car now. She looked at Ji-hyun. She looked at the apron, the flowers. "So," she said, "this is the great fixer now, a gardener." Ji-hyun put the crate down. He stood tall. He didn't feel shame. "I'm not a fixer anymore," he said. "I'm just Lee." Mina laughed, but it wasn't mocking. It was sad. "My father got 20 years, she said. "Did you know that?" "I saw on the news." "He blames you," she said. "He sends me letters from prison. All he talks about is revenge." Ji-hyun shrugged. "Let him talk. He can't touch me." "No," Mina agreed. She looked at the passenger seat of her car. There was a box of belongings. "We lost the house. The assets were seized. I'm moving to Busan to live with my aunt." "Good luck," Ji-hyun said. He meant it. She was a victim of her father too, in a way. Mina looked at him for a long moment. "Was she worth it?" she asked. "Burning it all down, losing the money, the power." Ji-hyun looked past her through the window of the shop. He saw the back door opening. Aisha was walking in. She was walking without crutches now, just a slight limp when it rained. She was holding Kai's hand. Kai was walking, waddling really. He was laughing, trying to pull a leaf off a fern. Aisha looked up and saw Ji-hyun. She smiled, a bright, genuine smile that reached her eyes. She waved. Ji-hyun looked back at Mina. "Yeah," he said. "She was worth everything." Mina nodded slowly. She put the car in gear. "Goodbye, Ji-hyun." "Goodbye, Mina." She drove away, disappearing into the city traffic. Ji-hyun turned back to the shop. Aisha came out onto the sidewalk. "Who was that?" she asked, handing him a thermos of coffee. "Nobody," Ji-hyun said. "Just a ghost." Kai let go of Aisha's hand and ran to Ji-hyun. He grabbed Ji-hyun's leg, hugging his knee. "Dada up," Ji-hyun laughed. He swung the boy up into his arms. Kai squealed, grabbing Ji-hyun's nose. "You are getting heavy," Ji-hyun grunted, kissing the boy's cheek. "He eats too much," Aisha teased. "Just like his father." "Hey, I work hard," Ji-hyun protested. "I need the calories." Madam Jang came to the door. "Are you two going to stand there flirting all day, or are you going to help me with this funeral arrangement?" she yelled, but she was smiling, a tiny, crooked smile. "Coming, boss," Ji-hyun said. He put his arm around Aisha. She leaned into him, her head on his shoulder. "Happy?" she asked quietly. Ji-hyun looked at the street. It was the same city, the same dirty sidewalks, the same noise. But it looked different to him now. It didn't look like a territory to conquer. It looked like a place to live. He looked at his son. He looked at the woman who had saved his soul. "Yeah," he said. "I'm happy." He kissed the top of her head. "Let's go to work." They walked back into the shop, the bell above the door chiming softly, closing the door on the rain, the past, and the ghosts of who they used to be. The end. Wow. From nearly burying his family in concrete to potting hydrangeas. That is what I call a redemption arc. I want to know what you think. Did Ji-hyun get off too easy? Should he have gone to prison, or was saving them enough to pay for his sins? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved this story of gritty romance and second chances, please like this video and subscribe to Timeless K-Love. We drop new, intense stories every single week, and trust me, you do not want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the only way to fix your life is to break it completely. See you next time.